your tribe is going to be dependent on who you get along with, not who I tell you you're going to get along with. You find, you test, you go ahead, you figure out what you need. And then you keep chasing after that desire. Because why be normal when you can be you?
Welcome to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast, the ultimate destination for accredited investors and entrepreneurs seeking alternative wealth-building strategies. Discover how to fast-track your journey to wealth and time freedom by thinking outside the box. If you're ready to join the ranks of the Contrarian Capitalists and learn the most effective ways to reach your financial goals faster, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Contrarian Capitalist. I'm your host and your favorite silverback, Sylvania Harrod. And so in today's episode, what I want to talk to you about is the most important thing you have in your life is those you keep in your circle. Now, why is this so important? We've heard it before. You hang around 4 people, you become the 5th one. Your vibe attracts your tribe, and so on and so forth. But similar to sports, high tides raise all ships. And there was a question that came into me via a DM on LinkedIn is, how did you create your plan that afforded you the opportunity to be retired? And then again, today I got to ask the same question because I help out at my kids' school. They do this thing called jogging club. It's kind of really cool. I think nothing is cooler than watching a bunch of elementary school kids fall in love with exercise prior to starting their day. So one of the teachers came up and was like, "Hey, I heard you're retired. How did you do it?" So I keep hearing these questions over and over again. And so I sat back and I thought about, what if my kid came to me and asked me, what would I do and how do I do it? What would I give them? And I wrote it down and I said, there's 3 key people you're going to need in your life. Number 1, you're going to need a guide. A guide is someone who has done what you're looking to do. Because you'd be amazed at the people that I have discussions with. They're like, yeah, this person told me this. And I go, okay, what's their level of experience of doing that? What is their wrong response? But they're highly successful. I said, success is objective. Is actually subjective, not objective. It's objective because a person could be really good at a sport, but horrible in relationships. You don't want to take marriage advice from that person. You can take some pieces of information, but don't take it as the gospel because they don't know how to implement it and embody it in their life. It's no different. They could be an exceptional cook, but awful at exercise. So you got to understand the skill set and what the person embodies before we take that advice. That's why a guide is so important. A guide can help you with getting clarification of exactly what you want, right? So the second thing we're going to go to is you want a plan. Because 1 and 2 kind of go together. Without a plan, because if you make a plan, you don't have a guide, man, you have no idea what you're doing. I'll give you a real world example. So when we built one of our first homes, we built it and the model home had ceramic tile in the kitchen and in the morning room. And so we didn't really know what we wanted. We're like, we like how the model home looks. We want what the model home has. And then because of the different design elements, we're like, oh, we want a lighter grout. And we got a lighter grout. It's ceramic tile. It looks beautiful. We move in and then you live there for a year or 2. And you realize 2 things. 1, light grout never stays clean on floors. You're going to see anything that spills just goes into there. And then you're on your hands and knees scrubbing no matter how much you seal it to get that going. You're like, oh my God, you can't get it. There's so much grout. You're going to spend a week cleaning all the damn grout. other thing that happens when you have small kids, because we only had when we first bought the house and we designed it, our baby was like 2 or 3 months old. We didn't know any better. And you have 3 children who just so happen to drop glass on tile. You realize you end up cleaning up glass weekly and weekly and weekly, because knock something off, then you move like, okay, get rid of all the glass. We only use plastic cups, because you keep picking up glass and you can't find all the pieces, and you go through that. That's the same as people getting plans off ChatGPT. It can pretend to know you, but that's just science, y'all. Science is a repeatable process. It can output information. The art is customizing it to you and knowing what route you're going to tell you the things that you don't even know to ask yet. That's why you need those 2 people. The third one is community. Community affords you the opportunity to have people to pick up the phone and call. And so it's very similar. Like, anybody who's owned a high-end luxury car can tell you the good and the bad about it, because they're not all perfect. They all have their quirks. On some cars, we were like, it's brakes. You can go buy brakes anywhere until you have a certain vehicle and you realize brakes are $10,000. You change it once every couple of years and you go, oh shit, I didn't know that. If you live on land and in areas outside of like traditional city limits, you're going to have a well and you're going to have septic. Know what happens when like typically, if your house loses power, that well runs off a pump, which means you have no water because the well pumps not powered. It can't do anything. And these are things you don't know. Like, oh, cool, you got to have your septic cleaned every 5 years. Yeah, that's $3,000 to $4,000 just to have it cleaned every 5. Like, what? These are things you never think about unless you have that guide to help you with your plan. And then it's the moments when you have the dark nights of the soul. Anybody who's accomplished anything in life has these moments, regardless if they admit to it or not. Not just, I just woke up and groaned. No. Everybody at some moment in time, that's human nature to question. Be like, is all this effort actually going to pay off? That's when you have community around you. People you can call, because when you're doing something that is contrarian by nature, you need to keep who you share it with to a very low amount, because they're never going to comprehend it and see it, especially if they're a linear thinker. So how do you get around that? That's when you have the capabilities of having a community of people who think like you. And one of the fastest ways I've ever accelerated any level of accomplishment is by getting a group of people that drag me towards my destination, because they're moving so fast. You deal with the discomfort, you deal with the uncertainty, you deal with the unknown, because on the opposite side of that is everything you wanted and more. And so when you hear those pieces and you go like, well, how do I find a community? How do I find things? I actually don't have that answer, because that's the piece of art in life that you have to be patient enough to be able to know how to look for. Because your tribe is going to be dependent on who you get along with, not who I tell you you're going to get along with. You find, you test, you go ahead, you figure out what you need. And then you keep chasing after that desire. Because why be normal when you can be you? So to land a plane on this topic of conversation, community is the last piece to the pie. You have your guide, you have your plan, and then community is what helps you pick you off the ground on the days, because you're gonna feel super inspired or challenged by your guide and by your plan. But community is what helps anchor you in to the real desires of what you have. Because what's the point of getting to the mountaintop if you're there all by yourself? It's not very fun. So Find your community. If you can't find it, build it. You'd be amazed how many people actually want the same desires you have. And with that being said, stay hungry, stay humble, and stay grateful, my friends.